Hi, this is Lisa Piper with Miracle of Deliverance, helping marriages, and this is session 16. Today I pose the question, what is love? Well, for those that are having issues in their marriage, it's very possible that there are issues in the love. There's a lot of things that you can say to them. For example, you're going to come across couples that one of them has said, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Most of the time, the reason people say silly things is because they don't understand what they're talking about. Oftentimes, couples confuse lust and love. Just because you think they're pretty doesn't mean equal love. Just because they're talented and give you the butterflies does not mean that's love. Guess what? Love is a choice. And if they can grasp submitting to God or obeying God in love, like they do in everything else, it's going to help the marriage. The plumb line for love is going to be 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And some of the things I like to draw out of here for marriages is where it says, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I have become sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. Basically, it's just a bunch of noise if you don't have love. So it doesn't matter how many gifts, how much money's brought home, how much you tell someone you're going to change, how much you're dedicated and all that kind of thing. All of that's just a bunch of noise. Now, I think doing the 5 love languages is going to be very beneficial if the couple hasn't done that before. That's nothing I'm going to do for the scope of these sessions, but there are DVDs that you can purchase by the author of the 5 love languages, and they need to know what their love language is and what their spouse's love language is, and purposely try to fill those love tanks. Love is one of those things that it is a choice to love. But it is also important that we do like Christ and we love first. And they need to gauge, is what I'm saying loving? Is what I am saying kind? Listen, a lot of your couples are going to have children, and they need to treat their spouse with honor because that is the parent of their child or the step parent of their child. So there's a lot of reasons to love. And I think I would have them make a list about their love and compare it to God's love here. It suffers long, it's kind, does not envy, does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, it thinks no evil, but does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, hopes all things, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. Now they need to measure their love up to that right there. Unfortunately, you're going to have folks that come from broken love. Just this week, a man told me that God knocked him off of a bicycle. I'm not sure what kind of bike it was, out of love for him, and that he equates pain with love. And he said, that's how I know when somebody loves me is when they hurt me. Now, I know that that's not right. But listen, there's a lot of people that equate love to things that aren't scriptural. Sex equaling love, pain equaling love, giving a person their way, not giving any boundaries equals love. That's not what the word says. So there may need to be some education on what love is. And then if they've never had it modeled, you may want your couple to find someone who can actually model unconditional love. Now, they may not care at this point, but as I said in an earlier session, if they do care what God thinks, if they are caring about obeying Him, you can bank on that one thing. And I would encourage them not to say dumb things like, I love you, but I'm not in love with you, because a lot of the times they're not feeling it, but that doesn't make it so. And I'm going to leave you with this one story. Back in my early years of marriage, I had begun learning about deliverance and about healing. And I remember going through a season where I felt zero feelings for my husband. My husband's incredible. I love my husband, but there was no emotion there. I don't know if it was hormonal. I don't know if it was a demonic attack. I don't know if it was just one of those seasons in marriages. I remember being in my upstairs bathroom doing my hair, and he said something downstairs, and I just cringed inside. Those were my emotions and my feelings. And in my head, I thought, there are words that I want to say right now that will hurt him and hurt him for a long time. It would be best that if I remember that I love him without the feelings, I easily could have said, I wouldn't even said, I love you. I'm not in love with you. I felt no love at all. And a lot of times couples make decisions based on these temporary seasons. And so I made a decision. I wasn't going to speak ill of him. I wasn't going to lash out at him. I was going to pray and treat him as I did when I felt the emotions. My children mattered, my home mattered, my husband, my vows mattered. This took longer than I expected. I know it was over a week. I really can't remember how long now, at this moment anyway, how long it took. But I remember fighting through that. Didn't want to lay next to him when we laid down at night, but I'm like, you're going to do like you do when you know you love him, because even though the emotion isn't there, you do. And when that season was over, it was as if something unclogged in me, and I looked over at him and this love gushed forward, and that was over. Oh, and I was so thankful, because I literally, in that short span of time, could have destroyed my marriage. But I hung on because love is a choice. Not only did I get through that, but my marriage took on a whole new depth. Later on, I talked to my husband about it, and I thought he knew nothing was wrong. He said, Lisa, I knew that there was something wrong and that you weren't saying anything, but he just quietly prayed and moved on. Now, I'm sure there's times that he's probably experienced the same thing, but you cannot take a temporary lapse of emotion or an infusion of emotion and make permanent decisions. And one of the things that I would encourage them to say is speak kindness, speak love. Also, they can stir themselves up to remember when they love them. Now, at this point, sometimes they will say, well, I never did love them. Listen, we can go through trauma that skews our memories. And I would never say that to another person. Well, I never did love you anyway. They need to allow the Lord to come in and reveal the truth. Maybe they didn't, but they made those vows. And the Lord, if they will obey him, if they will listen to him, can download an incredible love. In an upcoming episode, I'm going to talk about what to do with infidelity, how to cast out the demonic, and also we've got one coming up on what to do when you know the marriage isn't going to work.